Hey guys, today you're going to work through this lesson on dichotomous keys. You're going to understand this tool that's used for classification. First, you need to go over a few instructions for a flipped lesson. This is a little different than you probably have done before in science class. For this lesson, you're going to need to work independently. You have to work by yourself, but feel free to ask clarifying questions of your group members in case you're stuck. You're also going to record evidence of your learning in your notebook. Anytime, you may pause the video and ask questions if you need help. You may also pause the video as long as you need to think about the information presented. We really want you to understand the concepts, not just finish the presentation as fast as you can. In order to document your learning, you need to set up your notebook. Make sure you have a title and a date at the top of your page. You will also need to make sure you record enough evidence that you have proof that you understand the concept and that you have practiced the skill. You also want to make sure that you organize your notes and your practice so that you can find your information easily later. You might use headings and subtitles for that. On this particular slide, we'd like for you to read a little information about classification. Then look at the examples on the screen. There are 4 examples that you may have encountered earlier in your learning. Take a few minutes, look at the examples, and see why these examples help you understand classification. For this slide, you're going to read about taxonomy. As you're reading, jot down a few notes. That way, when you come back to your notes later, you'll have a record of your learning. At the bottom of the slide, you're going to see a pretty simple research question. We'd like for you just to go online and research the scientific names of 3 other animals besides the ones explained in the paragraph. Record them in your notebook. You might also include their common name. That way you don't forget which animals you looked up. Pause the video and document your learning in your notebook. The next section kind of describes the skill dichotomous key. There are 2 examples on the slide. Take a few minutes, read through the description, and look at the examples before you continue. Before we start practicing reading a key, we need you to set up a table in your notebook to record answers for the next few slides. Here's a great suggestion. You will be looking at 5 different questions. We'd like for you to record your answer, and then once you've checked your answer, we'd like to know if you were correct, and if not, kind of have you reflect a little and explain what your mistake is. Question number 1. You're going to look at the picture of this animal. You probably already know its common name, but we're going to work through the steps to figure out which species this is. So first you're going to start with the first 2 paired statements, 1A and 1B. You're going to ask yourself these 2 questions. Is the body covered with hair, or is the body not covered with hair? Well, of course, it's not covered with hair. So it says you're going to go to step 3. So we're going to scoot down to step 3A. Is the body covered with scales? Or 3B, is the body covered with feathers? Well, of course, it's scales. Now you're going to go on to number 4. Does it breathe with gills or breathe with lungs? You might not know the answer to this question, but take your best guess. If you thought lungs, then the answer would be species X. If you were correct, just write correct on your paper. If you were incorrect, you might write an explanation like, oh, I didn't know that they breathed with lungs. I thought maybe it was gills. Then continue to the next problem. Again, take a few minutes, read through this key, see if you can identify this organism. Pause the video and do that now. Now that you've written down your answer, let's check your work. For paired statements 1, you should have chosen 2 pairs of wings. Then you should have went to step 2. You should have chosen the insect has 1 pair of antennae shorter than its legs and went to step 3. The final answer should have been termites. This insect's abdomen is shorter than its wings. Go ahead, reflect, and continue to the next question when you're ready. Question 3 requires a little bit different thinking. Which bird is a barred sparrow? Record your answer, pause the video if you need time to think. In order to do this one, you kind of had to think backwards. The answer to Baird's sparrow was 3B, a non-hooked beak. So you kind of look back and see which step said go to 3. Well, step 1B said go to 3. The beak's shorter than the head. That means you're only going to have 2 choices, A or D. And since 1B says shorter, the beak is shorter than the head, the correct answer is bird D. What species is this? Again, pause the video, write down your answer. Now that you've recorded your answer, let's double check your work. The insect has an extremely long neck. No, it doesn't. So we're going to go to number 3. The wings are armor-like with a hinge underneath. Yes, they are. We've already found our answer. Sometimes on these keys, it does use the scientific name for the organism. So you would just write in your notebook the name. The spelling is Coleoptera. If you're not sure how to pronounce that organism, this would be a good time to pause the video, go to Google, search the name, and ask Google how to pronounce it, and it will read the word for you. When you're finished, go ahead and continue. For our final question to see if you can use keys, we're going to be looking at this particular tree. Which tree produces the leaf? Take a minute, write down your answer. If you said horse chestnut, you are correct. You correctly followed the steps. If you said something other than horse chestnut, go back and double check your work. Now you need to make the decision. Are you ready to assess? If you understand how to read a dichotomous key, ask your teacher for the assessment. If you need additional practice or help, you can watch a video. They're linked on the Spring Garden website under the Science Department page. You need to click on 7th grade daily assignments before you take your test. When you're finished with your test, you're going to come back to the slideshow and continue. Sometimes a classification key is presented in a tree-like format. Could you read this key? Take a second, pause the video, and double check. It's a pretty simple process. For example, we're going to start at the top every time. The question is it a plant? Well, if the answer is no, then you're going to ask the next question, does it have fur? If the answer is no, you're going to ask the following question, does it have wings? If the answer is no, then your organism you've identified is the crab. Now you have an option of how you want to create your own key. So in your notebook, you can use either format, either the tree from the last slide, or ones that are the paired statements like in the previous slides. You have these 5 organisms to work with. Be sure to put a picture at the end of the key when you get to the organism's identity. Pause the video and go ahead and create your key. After you've created your key, you probably want to share that key with your group or your teacher to make sure that you're ready for your assessment. Once you've gotten an okay, then go ahead and ask for the assessment and take that assessment. If you're finished with your assessment, you might want to complete the super challenge for just some added fun. For the super challenge, you're going to create a key that has at least 15 items that you can share with the class. Here's a possibility. I just researched beetles, and I found this image online. I could create a key of all of these different species of beetles that could help people identify them a little bit better. You could even print off the sheet and then use that at the bottom of your key if you don't like to draw. You could possibly do zoo animals, rocks, sports, TV stars, or music. Be creative. Just get permission from your teacher before you proceed.